and spotted that the two other buses that were following ours forked off to the right and went off in their own direction. Once I realised that our bus was travelling on its own and the other vehicles had forked off, I did wonder why.
Many of the men off the hijacked planes now started to arrive back at the Intercontinental Hotel.
The crew was tremendous, and the people who were our captors treated us with great dignity, I must admit.
Although it was a happy moment when there were these reunions between husbands and wives, there was the very dark side that significantly they weren't going to let all the British go. And just having the crews wasn't going to be enough. They wanted some passengers as well.
I was watching television myself, frantically looking for his face, and couldn't see him there. I wasn't really that disquieted by it. I just thought that I couldn't see him. There were so many people there. And then in the afternoon the phone rang, and it was the Foreign Office to let me know that my husband had been kept back, together with another 7 people from the BOAC aircraft. So then the worry really did set in.
What about the 7 people taken off the plane? Where are they? There are some, they say, taken away.
What the PFLP were not yet admitting was that they had taken over 50 hostages of different nationalities to secret locations in Oman.
The 8 British hostages were in one small room, and the size of that room was just big enough for the 8 of us to lie stretched out.
Still Goodman, he was a pilot. He negotiated for food and stuff like that with the terrorists for us. Guy Potts, our calming influence. John Wallace, the Royal Navy officer, really nice fella. There was Eric, I can't remember his surname, Eric. He was a flight engineer. Quiet chap he was. Richard Dunn, he was a solicitor from London. He was a very pleasant chap. We all got on very well together. I can see their faces as if it's today. I can still see the faces clear as a bell. We were real stiff upper lip. We were real quiet, calm, collected.
On September the 13th, the children, passengers and crew released from the BOAC flight were arriving at Heathrow.
And that was, I think Concorde was very new. I think it was just about Concorde's first flight around about that time. But people weren't so much interested in Concorde, they were interested in our plane and our plane coming back. And because we were the 3 schoolgirls and we still had most of our uniform on, I had all of mine on, you know, it was kind of, I guess it was a good picture. It looks like my eyes are closed, and they weren't actually closed, but they were cast down because I just had had enough by that stage. Catch a bright star in a place on your forehead, say a few spells and baby there you...
We came back into London, everything with our family and friends and all sorts of people there, and journalists. I remember my mother meeting me at the plane. I can remember, in fact, I realised that I was holding her rather than her holding me, but that's another story. And I can remember just after that looking across, and I remember seeing some of the children, and they were with family, and it was as if what in fact happened. We never saw each other again. You know, this was over, definitely over now.
But it was far from over for the 8 British hostages waiting for their government to decide their fate.
To pass the time, we used to play crib, and play crib, and play crib. We couldn't exactly go out to have a game of football. We slept a lot. played cards a lot, smoked a lot of fags. A hell of a lot of fags. The food was tin stuff, and unfortunately the tin stuff they had was camp pie. And camp pie was semi-liquefied spam. Written on the side of the tin was, "This meat contains no gristle, bone or hair for European consumption."
At Ealing Police Station, Layla Khaled was in her second week of incarceration.
The Arab girl reads newspapers and magazines and tries to impress the Ealing police with the rightness of the Arab cause. She's eating normally, though with some distaste, I'm told. Apparently she doesn't appreciate the plain English cooking of the police canteen. And apparently her absolute confidence in her speedy release remains unshaken.
In Oman, the PFLP continued to flout the authority of King Hussein of Jordan.
Hussein was losing grip of his own country. He was subject to quite a lot of pressure from his own population to do something about the Palestinians. They were more or less trying to take over his country, and this was not going to happen.
A civil war started to crackle.
I thought they were fireworks going off, and then it gradually dawned that that they weren't fireworks, but it was firing.
We heard the firing going on, and we thought, here comes the cavalry. Rescue.
What they could actually hear was fighting between the Fedayeen and the Jordanian army, following King Hussein's declaration of an all-out war.
With Jordan apparently plunged into civil war at last, one of the most agonising questions which remains unanswered here in Amman is the fate of the 50 or so hostages still held by the Fedayeen. Are they in cover? Are they somewhere in a basement, or where are they? All we can do is hope that they are not sharing the fate of their Fedayeen, who are being hit by the army pretty hard at this moment.
We were pretty well informed about the weapons that were being used and the ammunition that was falling by Major Fawkes Potts. He told us exactly what was landing and where it was coming from, and this, that and the other.
He'd give a big sigh and say, "Hoi hoi, tiddly push." And he said that when a shell landed a bit near, "Hoi hoi, tiddly push, a little bit rapid." Nerves of steel, the old man had. Marvellous fella.
There were occasions when the shelling was extremely close. Dust came off the walls of the building and the doors moved on their hinges, and it was very frightening.
We spoke about our homes, our families. We thought a great deal about our families. That's about the only thing that keep you going.
It's September, yeah. You've been gone so doggone long.
I went into work for the first day or two, but just could not commit myself to anything at all, so my boss sent me home.
How has this affected your life?
Quite a lot. It's living day to day, just hoping for news every day.
How do you manage to pass the time?
Taking the dog out, going for walks, housework, watching television. And the children were in boarding school until my son was told the news about his father, was very distressed, so I went and picked him up and brought him home, and I'm glad I did because he was good company for me. He was great.